Won't you take me home?
There's one thing hanging over your head that you can't control, you can't do anything about, and that's death.
Take me in your hands.
I don't feel our society particularly deals with death in a healthy way. The American society particularly is very, very closed-minded about death.
Some people that I have known in my past or in the present now, they say, "You work in the morgue? Disgusting."
Take me home.
Growing up, I watched embalmings done, and it was no problem for me. It was just another part of the process of taking care of someone's loved ones.
As far as people going into the mortuary field, I think most of them, or half of them, are guys who wanted to be doctors and came into this as taking the opposite end, a little easier.
Am I afraid of dying? I'm 23, not now.
I think about death a lot, and I have absolutely no fear about it.
Yes, I am frightened about death.
I don't think I'm afraid of it particularly. I mean, everything dies.
If it's time for me to go, it's time for me to go.
I don't want to die. I'd love to live to be 1,000 years old.
If life is given to me, I take the best advantage of it. And if I have to just take an exit, and it is good, done.
Yeah, I believe in you.
We're open 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We have a hearse on each shift. It's our job, it's our responsibility to clear the city of all the cadavers around in the streets or in private residence, people that are not claimed. When a body arrives here, the body is taken by two personnel, which are mortuary technicians. It's tagged, it's placed in a compartment. If no one claims the case within 3 weeks, cases are usually used for medical school or they are used in the embalming school. And from there on, it's just a case of a body.
The sheath encloses the common carotid artery and the internal jugular vein, both of these things.
I've been involved in mortuary science work, which includes embalming, care, disposal, treatment of dead human bodies. When people find out exactly what I do for a living, I get the usual questions. Do you hang people up by their fingernails or upside down to take the blood out? Do you remove the eyes? Very bizarre questions.
Here's the internal jugular vein. If you look in, you see the bluish there? That's the internal jugular vein. What I'm trying to do, can you see?
I've been teaching this subject for over 21 years. I just completed the first class for September. Today was just an introductory exposure to what embalming is all about.
Instruments are going in, then take your hands out. Okay.
The students I have that decide to pursue this arcane business come from all walks of life. Most of them do not come from a funeral service background. In the beginning, it's usually a feeling or an attitude of, from a humanistic standpoint, that they'd like to help. They like to perhaps see what's on the other side of the curtain.
Come on in, it ain't nobody here but me.
Let me describe the embalming process. It involves bathing the body, shaving the body when necessary, removing any clothing, garments, ligaments and bandages. Then we want to try and preserve the body tissues. And we do that using various chemicals. Following the injection of these fluids and chemicals, we dress the body, we use cosmetics to a certain degree, and we place them in a casket. And there the families decide what type of services they're going to have.
The funeral doesn't matter to me, as long as I do the righteous things in my life.
Yeah, I like to have a traditional, wake and give people the opportunity to mourn for me.
For a funeral, I would prefer people have fun. Just bury me, that's all. Nothing fancy. Because once you're gone, you're gone.
This is the room we're going to be using for the visitation and the day of the funeral service.
Yes.
My grandfather started the business in 1924. Then he died. My grandmother stepped in. Then my mother, and now myself.
My mother was a pioneer. She was one of the first. There were.
What, she got her license in 1930 or something?
She got
like
her license in 1930.
Yeah. This was the casket that you picked out when we were upstairs?
Yes. We know 95% of the people that we bury. So to us, it's almost like burying a member of our own family.
The average funeral today, I would say people spend, or families spend about between $1,200 and $2,100 is the average caskets that people buy today. It's going to be $45.95, $4,595. Basically, we have two types of caskets here. We have wood caskets and metal caskets. The metal caskets are sealer caskets. A sealer is a gasket that when you lock the casket, it keeps everything tight. This is a simple casket. It's just a gray covered casket with flake board. This casket here has a full open lid. And that's the old. In New York, we mostly used to use the full open lid. Now people go more for the half look. This casket over here, this is the Piata. It's a religious casket. It has the Last Supper with the Piatas on it. Usually comes in a velvet interior, and this is a solid bronze. So this is a pretty high up casket. My family goes in woods, so this, to this area, they like either mahogany or walnut.
People, whenever I go to a party, or I'll introduce myself, and they'll say, gee, what type of work you do? I'm in the tombstone business. They sort of step aside. I don't handle dead people, I only handle rocks. Today, the monument started at approximately $700. We're making two large ones now that exceed $75,000. They're both under construction. 30 years ago, there were over 800 people in New York employed. Today, it's reduced to 65. The business is dying. Technology is taking over with the machines that are cutting the stones. This is all done by machine over here. These petals, leaf petals. This rose is done by hand. Cost about 10 times the price. That takes about 15 minutes to produce. This takes almost a day. The workmanship that's being done today is a lot different than was done years ago.
When I was a young boy, I started, a cousin of the family happened to be a sculptor, and I used to hang out in there when I was 5, 6 years old, He used to give me a chisel, and a hammer, make something, And I've been doing this on my own for about 35 years. I've done statues on dogs, poodles. I did a motorcycle for a young man that died on a motorcycle. I got all kinds of saints, St. Teresa, I got, you name it, I got it. So I know when I die, I get a good place where they all know me up there. We had 15 manufacturing shops like this here, and bigger than this. There's nothing left. I'm the only guy that that works, the only one. I don't think they're going to have monuments forever, because 50 years from now, all these cemeteries around here, they're all going to be full. I think it's going to disappear, this artwork of the monument industry.
Years ago, the people came in, they wanted a large stone. People come in today, I want a rock. Give me the least expensive you have. What's your minimum?
In the last few years, it's getting harder to deal with people, with the price of everything getting so high.
Funeral directors have been unfairly labeled as being avaricious, as being greedy.
I do believe in the last 20 years that the funeral business has changed their outlook in many ways and are being more scrupulous. But still, the funeral is a merchandising of effect, and the people that come for a regular funeral are paying many, many dollars more than someone who might choose a simple disposition. The Neptune Society was started because someone had felt that the traditional funeral was very expensive and in many ways very meaningless, and was looking for a more simple, dignified way of saying goodbye to the deceased. I will read from the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. The scattering of the remains at sea is an option that some people choose. They may either attend the boat service or not attend, but the scattering is part of our cremation service. We will now scatter the remains of our sister at sea. People find it's a very peaceful way to have their closure and to begin their bereavement in a healthy process. It is important for people to have some kind of a closure because the funeral is all about the living. And everything that we do at this point is in terms of the people that are surviving.
You deal with it, you don't understand it, you think what happens, but then you live with it.
I've had experience with deaths in the family and gone to funerals, and I never get upset about it, depressed about it, because I feel like, the person's going to a better place.
I don't really think that much happens to you when you die. I mean, there's a lot of things out there, a lot of opinions.
People feel you die, you're gone. You're yesterday's garbage.
The life just finishes. I have no idea about what happens after death.
I think that there are heavens and hells.
Yes, it is life after death.
I don't think so. It might be a heaven. I ain't giving up. I'm not giving up.
One of these mornings, it won't be very long. You will look for me, and I'll be gone.
Like a thief in the night. One night you're going to go to sleep, or one day, and that's it. You can't come back.
Go into a place where I'll have nothing to do. Just walk around heaven all day.
People think that we have our hands in the grave or in heaven or in hell, and that we have a linkage between the living, the family, and their lost and their lost one, and which we really don't. But we do try to bridge the gap.
Can't nobody put me on.
Do for people while you're alive, not when you pass away. Like I hear so many families, oh, I should have not fought with them, I should have been nice to them, I should have did this, should have did that. You should have nothing.
And we'll just join together and walk around heaven all day.
I don't think it's something that you have to put out of your mind exactly, but I think it's something rather that you need to think about and to come to terms with and come to personal grips with on your own.
Well, I know that death is death. As long as you're not scared of it, you have nothing to worry about.
But I think if we all learned as children that there is such a thing as a transition at the end of life, perhaps we could face it a little more easily. I think the scariest part is to think that you close your eyes and you're in a box and there's nothing. And nothing is frightening.